Are you the one that your friends always come to for advice or for help? Are you the one that always has the answer, to everything that people need? Are you the go to at work when people come upon a problem that they cannot solve? And then you look back and you see that your life and your job is in shambles. Why is that? It's because you need to stop giving advice and start listening to it. Welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And if you've been with me since January of 2023, you will know that Embracing the Fight was started to help normalize the conversation surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. Now, since then, we've evolved because I've had the opportunity to bring in several guests, several people to talk about their different, struggles or their testimonies after the struggle was over. Now, I would love to have you to come on because in this season, I'm trying to encourage and inspire to help you be the best version of yourself because I'm working on me too. I mean, you look at life many different ways and in many different, phases when you're in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, 50s, because how many teenagers actually watch YouTube? I could be wrong. It's probably much to watch. But you see yourself in different phases and you aren't the same that you were 10 years ago. There's growth. And then some people, they might regress, who knows? Whatever the situation may be, this is the platform for you. You have found your home. So if you'd like to be a guest on Embracing the Fight, just reach out to me anywhere that I'm on social media. And I'm on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, and X. And I am listed as Embracing the Fight. Now, the only difference is on Instagram, I'm Embracing the Fight underscore. Now, that I've gotten the business of everything out of the way, let's talk about, stop giving advice and start listening to it. When you think about it, when you're going through something, you can hear, directly from God. It's your conscience that, is talking to you, that is telling you right, from wrong. The Holy Spirit is here with us to remind us, of what the right thing is to do. Because 9 times out of 10, when you are going through something, you hear what you should do, before you do it, if you ask the Lord. So let's talk about, this advice thing. You have friends that come to you and they'll ask you a question, and you hear yourself give the most eloquent response. And from that response, you see that it changed their life. Their life gets better, or whatever situation they were in, it turned around, for the better. And then they come back to you and they ask for more advice, and you keep giving it, giving it, giving it, giving it. But then you look at the things that are around you and you're wondering why, it's falling apart. Did you listen to yourself when you asked the Lord to give you whatever it was that you were requesting? Or did you try something in your own might? Did you try something that you could do without the help of the Lord? If you did, then you're not listening to your conscience. You're not listening to the direct line, because when you pray, the Lord sends answers to you, whether you hear it in a dream, whether you see it, in front of you, or whether you hear it, with your mind's eye. And that's, basically what your conscience is. It's your mind's eye. And whatever you're hearing there, you have to take heed to what you hear. You can't just hear it and be like, oh, that's great, and go about your business, because if you do that, you're going to end up in, the situation that you're in. Now, let me give you an example. So I talk to a lot of people about, them when they go through divorce. And the first question they ask me is, did I see any signs, with what I had going on with my ex-husband? So the short answer is yes, I saw signs, but I told myself that, okay, everybody doesn't have great credit. everybody, didn't grow up with two parents in the household, and they don't know exactly what it's like, to compromise. And those two things, I was like, okay, I can, overlook that because that's something that we can do to grow together. Boy, was I wrong. I should have listened to myself because myself was saying, wait a minute. Just because he didn't have, two parents in his home doesn't mean that he couldn't have grown into a different individual over the years, because he was like, what, almost 50. So it's like, hmm. And the other thing, I really really should have listened to myself when I'll tell you a little story, something that that he would say, and it was very odd to me. Like, why do you always say that? He would say stuff like, we would plan to do something, and on the way there, if we just happen to be around where a friend or family member was, and I just say, oh, we're going to such and such and such. And if that person happens to be in the area, sometimes they would stop by, sometimes they would say hello. And he would say, you always choose your family and friends. And it's like, what does that even mean? It's like, when you are out and about, it's always a joy, it's always a pleasure to see the people that you love. Like, who wants to hide from the people that you love? And come to find out, a lot of the reason that he didn't want, people really to see us out was because he had several, extramarital relationships. And if that little voice in my head, if I had listened, to that advice for the things that, you know, would throw up a question mark, then I would not have married him. And I would not have gone through all the things that I went through. But see, on the flip side of that, after going through all those things, it really and truly makes me listen to myself so much more. So the question is, what are you giving advice on? And you see, something in your life that's lacking, or something that, is quite painful. So, what about when it comes to your job? There's always this person that comes there and they sit down, they smile, they talking to you, and unless you're the business owner, and they're saying, oh, there's a new job out there that I am very interested in. You might have been interested in it too, but you encourage them, to apply for it. You give them pointers, you do all these different things, and then they get the job. And you're sitting there like, I gave them all that advice. I have the same, experience. I could have very well gotten a job, but if you had stopped giving advice and just applied for it yourself, that job could have been yours. And it's like, what I don't understand is why some people, don't choose themselves. It's not selfish to choose yourself when you have a goal and there is something that you desire. Just because someone tells you their dreams and their desires doesn't mean you have to move yours out the way so that they can get it. Because what happens if they applied for it and they didn't get the job and somebody else got the job and you're like, dang, I could have applied. You know what I mean? So you have to give yourself a chance. You have to give yourself an opportunity. You have to hear the same advice that is coming out of your head, out of your mouth, into someone else's ears for yourself. You have to apply it for yourself. Because what tends to happen is you keep giving all this great advice, people start sending people to you. And the more people that come to you, the more you move yourself into the background. The more you move yourself out of position to get whatever it is that you think is for you. So, another example, imagine if, you're at a party, or I don't know, you're at a restaurant, you're somewhere, and you're with a group of your friends, and you see the nicest looking man or woman, you know, walk by. And one of your friends, is single, you're single, and they said, ooh, that person, they are so attractive. I would love to get to know them. But you thought the same thing. But instead of you saying, ooh, girl, or ooh, dude, I think the same thing. Nope. You give them advice. You say to them, hey, you should go over there and say hi. Then they go over there and they say hi. And they eventually start dating, but then they break up. And you see that person later on and they're like, I really was interested in you. but your friend came over. And now you're sitting there saying, dang, I should have said something because it's going to look really weird now if I start dating you after you just recently broke up with my friend. So it's like sometimes you have to stand up for yourself. That great advice goes both ways. It goes for you because sometimes the words that come into our head and in our heart is for us. It's not for anyone else to get it and to thrive or do great off of. It's for us to thrive and to do great. Imagine too that you've gone through the job thing, the relationship thing, and then just imagine now you talking to yourself. You are looking over your life and you're sitting there and you're saying, you know what, I should have done this and I should have done that. And if I had done these different things, then my life would look so much, more different than it actually looks now, based off of the choices that I've made. And then you go back and you say, you know what, I remember the time that I told this person or that person to do this. And then you look at their life and now they are, light years ahead of what you think that you should have. And then you notice the bitterness starts to set in because you start saying, well, you know what? I thought I would have done, XYZ by this point. But because I told this person to do that, they are there and now they don't even look back to say thank you or to help me. Guess what? Your advice is one thing, but their work, their effort, that's another thing. That's the thing that actually got them over. Because imagine if you told someone to apply for a job and they went there and they were underqualified, do you think they're going to give them the job just because you gave them the advice to apply? No, no. They were giving them the job because of their work ethic. Same thing with the relationships. If a person walks over to another person and says, hey, I want to get to know you, I'm interested in you, and that person is not interested at all, guess what? They're not going to, take into consideration the fact that you gave them advice to go over there and talk to them. They might be kind. They might not, brush them off completely. They might not ignore them. They might just say, you know what? No, I'm not interested in that. Hey, they might already be married. They might already be, with someone and they're not interested in pursuing anything outside of what they already have. So you have to realize that along with your advice, the success comes with the work. They had enough faith. They had enough wherewithal to say, you know what, I want to go try whatever it is that, was told to me. So advice is one thing. It's the thing that should be the catalyst that starts the fire. But you have to add some type of fuel to keep it going. Because any fuel or any fire, it has to have an ignition source and it has to have oxygen to keep going. So imagine if you take away one of those things, then that fire is going to get snuffed out and that's it. So the question is, what advice are you giving to others that you can give to yourself and then use it, actually do something with it to change the situation that you are in? So let me give you another little personal story about myself. So, I am into consulting and I work with businesses to help improve their processes. I am a problem solver. I look at a system and I can tell you, okay, let's just take an example. If you have a person that is running a machine and this machine makes a particular product, and say you have 5 people that run it and this one person is running it light years better than the others, if I sit there and I monitor how they actually run this machine, then I can go back, write a full process, full procedure, and say, okay, now let's test this out. And I go get those other 5 people and I say, this is how I want you to run this machine today. And then when they start running that way, if you notice that your numbers are climbing, it's because there was nothing wrong with the people, the process, or the procedure was broken. Same thing with advice. When you give advice, there's nothing wrong with giving the advice. What happens is when there's nothing done with it, especially If it's something that you can use on your end, that is what is broken. You are not broken because you have great advice. You give good advice. You're a problem solver. You are a helper. And when you are that type of person, sometimes it's hard to turn it off. And I'm speaking from personal experience. It's very hard to not give good advice because I think I give great advice. But then I look at some things that I have going on. It's like, why don't I listen to myself? So this episode really is for me. And when I look at my consulting business and I think about, oh, I could send out all these letters, I could do all this different stuff. And I gave this lady the same advice that I should have been giving myself. And guess what? Everything that she's doing right now, the work, the effort, everything that she put behind it, it has caused her to become debt free in less than 6 months. Let that sink in for a second. If I took the same advice that I gave to this lady, now I'm not saying that my advice and my effort will make me be debt free, but not doing anything with it will guarantee that I won't be debt free. Hear what I'm saying? That advice is one thing, but it's the effort, it's the work, it's what you have to put behind it to get it going. So stop giving advice and start listening to your own. And then when you listen to your own, there's a certain thing about listening. There's a difference between listening and hearing because you can hear something all day long. But when you listen to something, it causes you to act. It causes you to move forward. It causes you to do something different. And then there's an expectation after you have listened and placed and act on something. You're supposed to have faith that whatever it is that you're working on is going to come through and it's going to work out, for your benefit. So, in what areas of your life are lacking? And what type of advice would you give yourself to correct those things? I mean, there's 1,440 minutes in every day. And imagine if you could take half of that time to change the trajectory of your life just by listening and acting on the advice that the Lord has given you anyway. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today to watch this episode of Embracing the Fight. I hope that you find a moment to sit down and really analyze the type of advice that you've been given and determine how you can use it to help yourself. And as always, I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.